everybody, welcome back to Tales Off the Holotables. I got a special treat for you tonight, and we are going to just nix my normal intro because I don't give a shit about it. I've got UrzZz with me tonight, you came back to the game. It was announced, about a month ago?
I actually announced it in a video probably back in late August. But I didn't want to come back empty-handed, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to sort of capture the majesty of what I had done before, and that's just the holotable, the whole setup, everything I got going on right here, right now, and then all new intros for my channel and things like that. So yeah, so it was announced back in August, came back officially on October 11th to do my first GAC stream.
So I this is when I first reached out to you. I had kind of said, I'm more about text. I'm big on Reddit and reading my information. So Early on in the game, I started January 2017. I wasn't very familiar with content creators. I only heard what was being told to me and oh, this guy's really good. This guy's really great. Oh, he's entertaining. People are flipping out. They are super stoked for your return. And I didn't understand it until I started to look at some of your videos, and I was like, oh, you know what? He's kind of mellow and level-headed, but he still has that really crazy production value behind it. So I might actually find myself watching some of this stuff while I'm sitting on my couch Saturday, Sunday.
Well, I think that's the first anyone's ever described my streams as mellow or level-headed. But I've certainly mellowed out in my my mid 40s here. I started the game probably a year into it, I want to say. I remember when the Rancor raid launched and guilds launched. That was about the time I started the game. I remember playing it for the first time at the Broncos Panthers Super Bowl party. That's where I got introduced to the game, and then it's been with me ever since. So I took some time off. Probably back when Aiden was maybe a little bit before Aiden.
Okay.
So I think at my time, Lord Vader had just come out. That's what it was.
Okay.
Lord Vader had just come out. I had a lot of the requirements because I had farmed a bunch of weird off meta stuff like Tuskens and things like that. And I remember just being totally disenchanted because his kit was he was the most underwhelming GL, and I was I was just kind of looking for a way out at that point. So yeah, that was when I first came back. Yeah.
So I actually just was watching your whole video there. I got home, I ran home, I sat down at my computer. I was I gotta find out when he left the game and read this or see what happened. And so it's interesting hearing it firsthand, and I guess it's still firsthand watching a video of it. But before I talk about Star Wars, I was very excited to find out that you're from Colorado. I'm not. I'm in New Jersey. My wife and I, we honeymooned in Denver 3 years ago. We fell in love with Denver. We're new converts to football as of 2 years ago, and we were you know what, we're Broncos all the way. So I'm super stoked to hear that you're I'm assuming a Broncos fan just from...
Broncos and Nuggets, those are my guys right there.
Yeah,
so,
I'm very excited, and we were very excited for the win yesterday with Bo Nix and everything. And I don't want to get too far into football, but when I found that out, I was like, oh damn, this was meant to be.
Yeah, no, I've certainly been up your way. We visited the Ruby Tuesdays at the airport in New Jersey.
In Newark.
Yeah, we got laid over in Newark on our way
Satan's asshole.
on our way international. We got laid over in Newark, and they gave us a bunch of food vouchers, and we used them at Ruby Tuesdays. And I had $200 in food vouchers at Ruby Tuesdays at the Newark airport, and I made it rain there. I was just shooting them out.
That's what we do. We went to, my brother lives in Korea. We went to Korea last year because he got married. And we went, I don't even know where we were, some random ass bar in Newark airport. And just the idea of, you know what, I'm going to be on a 16-hour flight. I'm going to get a little bit drunk. because
Yeah,
I need
there you
to
go.
pass out. I can't sit here on a plane for 16 hours and not take 8, 12 hour nap during it. So I get it. Making it rain, having a few drinks, having a whiskey, make
Well,
mistakes.
they gave us. I had two little kids at the time. They gave us $200 in Ruby Tuesdays cash, which goes a long way, surprisingly, at Ruby Tuesdays.
It
So
can,
yeah,
except at Newark, because
except
the beer $23, whatever it is. Um, okay, I want to segue back because these are all the things that I wanted to talk to you about, and before I even do that again, I like to jumble around. When I first reached out to you and I first talked to you, I was kind of describing what Tales Off the Holotables was. And I remember saying, hey, by the way, like, you don't have to drink. Like, it's cool. Like, that's the vibe, but you don't have to. Like, it's not a big deal. Just because some people have told me, like, oh, I only drink tea or I only drink water. And you had specifically said to me, no, like, drinking is a must. We have to have a beer.
yeah, I'm ready to go get my beer when you're ready.
Oh, dude, I got a double IPA with me right now. I've started early. I didn't realize I was waiting for you.
I just got home, so I've been scrambling. I just didn't want to hold you, so I can certainly go get the beer if you.
Listen, take a minute. I'll stall. Like that's completely fine. Grab a beer. Enjoy the time.
Okay, here we go.
Oh man. This is the part where I sing to nobody in particular. Because on a Monday night, you have to drink and make mistakes.
All right, I'm here. I got my beer and I am back.
All right, what do you got on you tonight?
This is a Duara, Daura. It is an international award-winning beer from Barcelona.
Okay,
And
Spain.
yeah, so here we go. It's a gluten-free beer. So I'm having stomach issues, and I'm trying to try new things out.
Trying to track it down and figure it out.
Yeah. Just process
I got you, man.
elimination. What are you drinking?
I got Double Dog IPA, Flying Dog Brewery. I actually went out this weekend to stock up. I got myself some Double Dog. I've got my backup Goose Island because I always come prepared. And then I don't know about you. I'm a big whiskey fan. I'm a big Whistle Pig fan, and I happened to find this collab that they did with Solo Stove. So I had to grab that as well. So I'm well prepared for this.
Nice. Well, what are we drinking to? We got to have something to drink to.
Well,
right?
it's your return to the game, right? Like I don't think you understand. I have people, I'm sure you do too, who are always DMing me and always asking me questions, and I try to respond to everybody. And I've been telling them like, oh, I'm doing this thing, like be on the lookout, like UrzZz and these are a lot of newer guys who have only shown up in the last like 3 or 4 years of playing. And then I hear nothing. And then 3 hours later, they'd be like, oh my God, you're right. His production value is so good. Like, I have to watch this shit. So I'm going to cheers to your return to the game and me not quitting by the end of the year.
Oh, you're not going to quit this game. It's true. It's all we got. It's the only Star Wars we got. But
That's
cheers.
True, man.
Cheers to you.
Cheers, brother. All right. So we were talking, as we segue back, we were talking very briefly before we started streaming about your return to the game. And that was really the core of why I had reached out to you. And I know you kind of briefly explained to me, and I stopped you a little bit. Just 4 years later, you know, what is your thought process? Like the whole 9 yards of what's going on. That's like, you know what? I gotta come back to Star Wars Galaxy Heroes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been asked that question a lot. I've actually quit the game once before. I did not quit the game a second time. I just stopped streaming it, stopped producing content around it. So I've quit the game actually twice before. And I think what my thought process for quitting the game at the time was simply the grass is going to be greener on the other side. And you kind of get in this head. growth on like Twitch and YouTube, and it's a mobile game. Everybody's got this negative connotation about like mobile games. Like, I don't want to play a mobile game. It's all driven to, get you to spend money. And while some of that may be true, I think there's definitely ways to play and enjoy this. Thank God, I'm just being hamstrung by this game, and nobody wants to. It's got a limited growth audience, right? There's only so many people that play this game. I always hear like Arnold talking about like 300,000 people, and maybe you have better metrics because you're more of a data-driven guy. But 300,000 is always the number we hear of like active players in this game. And when you sort of look at it like that, you're like, well, I can only grow so much. And I'm late to the content creation game because Arnold and Mobile Gamer and Warrior, they got in at the right time, and they grew insane, just leaps over bounds. Cubs a little bit later, he grew really well. And I came in later, and I didn't experience that same growth. So I was hungry to step outside of Galaxy of Heroes and try and do just anything else to see if I could just make it. And while we use the term "make it," it's like, well, what does that actually mean? A lot of people that go into variety just like give up after like 3 months. We did it for 4 years, and while my numbers initially have declined, I still have a rock solid core group of people that are there night in and night out, regardless of what we're playing, and that feels really good. That feels like you made relationships with these people, and you've succeeded in that realm. But at the time, when I quit the game the first time, it was because I believed the grass was greener on the other side. And I believed in my heart that we were going to get something else Star Wars related that was going to just completely dwarf this game. And shockingly enough, that never happened. There's never been a Star Wars game of this quality. And I think at the time I was frustrated with a lot of things. I was frustrated with GLs. I was just frustrated with like them sort of taking away the theory crafting. And I know theory crafting sort of exists today with like, a little bit of datacrons and a little bit of just like nuance and really knowing these super long kits. But I was really frustrated at the time. And just like, like one of the staples of my channel is Resistance Trooper. We call him Major Tom. And he's been with us forever. Like, I was one of the only guys that had a good. He was just like a meme character that we made in our GAC live streams, and we call him Major Tom. And he's got like his full intro, and there's like lore in our channel around him and things like that. And I was the only one that had him. And then Ray comes along, and then everybody farms a Major Tom. So they sort of took the fun, stupid characters and they made him with a purpose. That sort of really turned me off at the time. And there was a lot of toxicity with the content creators, 100%. It was very much like dog eat dog world. Like, I'm not going to help you because the pool for this game is so much smaller. So I think those were my core reasons for leaving the game back then.
I can definitely, I definitely understand the whole thing with Resistance Trooper. That's been one of my biggest. I don't want to say it's one of my biggest. Time sink has been one of my biggest critiques, but one of my lesser, more important critiques has been the homogenization of accounts, right? With the GLs and needing all of these requirements. Now at the top end, every account pretty much looks exactly the same.
Right.
And I have been someone who has been championing Jar Jar Binks for like the last 3 years. Like, he's got to come to the game. He's got to come to the game. I did huge streams on it. I bothered Meathead. I did a petition that got thousands of people on top of it, and that's what I was known for. And I was really just hoping for a B-tier character that I could bring to Relic 9 and be silly. And I'm almost slightly annoyed that he's useful. Because everybody has him at R9 now. Like, it's not cool. Like, it's not this weird quirk about my account that I was hoping it would be, which has been an annoyance for the last couple of months.
I think the weirdest. What's the weirdest thing you could like? I got an R8 mob enforcer, and I don't even know if that's weird because she's a requirement for like cartel. And like,
That is a thing, even with Rise of the Empire, right? So I'm big on territory battles and like helping people with territory battles. And I know you just joined our Discord server, but if you explore it, we have a whole territory battles library of like videos of autoing things and manualing things to help people out. But if you do Rise of the Empire and you get to the Phase 5 and Phase 6 planets, you need Relic 9 shit tier things just to do the platoons. So like I have an R9 Mon Mothma and an R9 Hoth Rebel Soldier, and Mon Mothma is not useless, but at R9 she's useless.
Right. You're not.
And I'm there with 10,000 other people because they all need it for the same exact reason that I need it.
Yeah, and that just like, that was a frustrating thing. Like the constant changing in platoons. That felt like moving the goalpost. That was sort of another reason that I got disenchanted with the game. Just like, oh, new character, new marquee. Okay, we're moving the goalpost again. That's now required. That was frustrating. But yeah, like the homogenization accounts, like homogenization of accounts, like that's, I agree. And that's sort of like, when I came back to the game, it's like everybody offered. I got like a 10 million account. I'm like, I got a 12 million account. It's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
One, I don't know anything about the new kids. So what are we going to do? It's just going to be like embarrassing for me to try and like, manage this account, or, like I think Zareth offered me one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm all about it. And then I talked to my community and they're like, no, like you are not ready for that. And, I think that, and I'm like, well, why would I even want that? Because then I would just be doing the same show that, that Scribe does. Yeah, the same show that, all the top end streamers for this game do. They all have the same like top tier accounts. I'm like, why don't I just go back to my account as a returning player and tell the story from that perspective? And that's sort of what I've done.
And there's a lot of people, in that space. Obviously, you have a leg up because you do have a community behind you already, and you have a lot of people that do remember that production value beforehand. I have tried to take, and you were talking about this before, the toxicity that might have existed with some of the earlier content creators, and really tried to say, I'm actually going to harness these people and say, hey, like, let's make a community for these creators. So even on our Discord, I have multiple creators and I've given them space to be able to grow and do things. There's a lot of people in like that 6 to 9 million who have been playing for 3 or 4 years, who are in Iridium 5 and Kyber 4, and they're looking for content creators that have accounts that look like theirs, like they log in and watch my stream and they're like, oh, great, fuck you, Egnards, you have everything. How does that help me? But there's a lot of people out there that are looking for something that's more like their playstyle.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the story I tell, and that's going to be the direction of my content for this game, is the returning player. What do you do? How much money have you sunk in? And like, I listened to like Nooch Too Good, or I don't know who I was watching the other day, and he was just like, you're doing roster reviews, and he's just like, go farm this, go farm this, go farm this. And it's sort of like, he's just like telling the story from like a top end perspective. And I'm like, man, there is just so much I could tell from like a mid-range perspective of like, I've got a lot of like top end people in my community that, are certainly giving me advice and pointing me in the right direction and helping me with like managing my currencies and what's a rip off, what's a good deal, how to navigate relics with a little bit more success without breaking the bank and things like that. But I think there's an opportunity definitely for returning player, because I don't think there's any returning player content, and I think that's going to be the direction I go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously, and in order for this game to grow, obviously, like we have whatever Arnold says is probably, I don't track that shit, 300,000, 350,000. In order for this game to continue on, and it probably will for a very long time, just because CG has learned from a lot of the lessons of the past, but they still want to grow it. And having somebody out there that's saying, hey, like, you can return to this game and still be successful, whether that success is being competitive or whether that success is just having fun and finding an enjoyment in the mid-tier somewhere. It's an important thing for this game, and we see that through the hyperdrive bundles. We see that through the lightspeed bundles. Those are all designed to get people caught up to the same things that I'm farming. on a quicker timeline.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, like, when I came back to the game, I was like, guys, I'm not spending. Like, I know where this is gonna go. And then they rolled out Lightspeed Bundle Cam, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. Forget what I said. I gotta get Cam. Like
They always get me. I go, fuck you guys, I'm not spending anymore. And then something comes out and I go, God damn it.
yeah, and it's just like, and then okay, so do we want to start talking about what is good about the game? That
I would love to
exist.
hear. Yes, I would love to hear your perspective, and that was actually my other major question. Is really you quit for a certain reason. What does the game look like to you now?
Yes. The game is 150% better than when I quit. The gear farm, okay. So, like, the gear farm was just obnoxious when I left the game. Like, it was just Carbanti after Carbanti, stun gun, stun cuff, just nonstop. I come back to the game, and that stuff's like, you get raid currency, and it's just like, bam, bam, bam. You need 125 of these, bam. Like, it's just like, they've basically eliminated, outside of Cryotech, because the new characters do have Cryotech in their up to G12 process. But, like, you want, like, what was the character? It was Range Trooper. I went and I was like, you know what? I want to build out my Iden squad. I like Iden, played the campaign in Battlefront 2. I want to build out my Iden squad. I want to give her a proper Ami. And I want to run her in Grand Arena. I'm going to make a whole deal about Iden. And I remember going through and I was like, oh, I'll use Range Trooper. He's cool. I've always wanted him and it never had him. Range Trooper's gear requirements are like nothing. They are like nothing. The guy was done in like a day and a half. Like it was like the easiest thing in the world. He had like, I think one Cryotech at like
at
the
G12,
G12 final. Yeah, the G12 final piece. Yeah. And then like, you know, it's not breaking the bank to get him to Relic 2, Relic 3. It's like the easiest thing in the world. So that sort of stuff is like, that feels really good. Yeah. That feels like, man, this game is like, you know, a bit more accessible. And then we talk about Lightspeed Bundle, right? Think about all those guys out there that are not in top end guilds. They're loyal to their guild, and maybe their guild's not efficient, their guild's not good. They're just loyal to their community. Those guys, a lot of those guys never sniffed Cam. Like I left the game and I was in a really strong guild and I was getting Cam shards, and I left the game when I was getting those shards. But and there are still people today that did not have Cam. So like the accessibility of getting Cam, like that feels good. Another thing that I noticed when I came back to the game was like Gungans had already been out. Gungans had already been marquees. I'd missed all the Gungan stuff. And I think Jar Jar had come out maybe like 2 or 3 months before I had come back to the game. Well, they rerun the marquees now. So like before, if you missed a marquee, you were screwed. You were like, you just missed all those shards. I ended up getting like 450, like 500 shards of all the Gungan stuff. Just because like they reran all those marquees, and like a little thing like that. But the biggest thing I got to tell you was when I saw the PC client, because I am a live streamer and I always thought the game looked like dog shit. It's like, like this game looks terrible. Like if we're being real, like go look at Jin. Like Jin is like I don't know what they were doing when they built Jin. Like, what's her name? Felicity. What's her name? Felicity Jones. She's like a very pretty lady. She does not look like that. Like
the model we have in game.
Yes, it's just bad. And like, you know, Daisy Ridley's very pretty. They got her looking like a potato. But the PC client certainly has given the game new life for me. I saw it. I couldn't believe how good it looked. I remember vividly like watching Arnold's video and they're like, UrzZz, you got to watch this. I'm like, guys, I'm done with Galaxy of Heroes. I'm not watching this. They're like, no. You really need to watch this. I watched it and I was like blown away.
Yes.
And it looks even better. I play it in 4K. It's like 240 hertz. It's just ridiculous. It's just so smooth and buttery and the audio's great. Like, I don't know.
So when when the PC client came out, I was playing the game on my phone. I started doing video, I think last December, and I was doing it on my work Mac. You know, I own a business and I bought a Mac in COVID because I needed Zoom calls and everything. So in order to stream, I would hook up my phone to my Mac and I would like beam it to it, and then I would use Streamlabs and I'd sit there playing on my phone. And when that PC client came out, I was like, you motherfucker, like I've always been a PC gamer. I grew up on like Jedi Outcast and Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2.
Great
and I ended up mobilizing my community, and I would not accept money from anybody. Like, people were like, oh, let me like spend money on you. And no, I can't do that. And we ended up doing like sponsorship games and just playing sponsored games to raise money for a PC. And I remember getting that like 3 months later and be like, this is like the greatest fucking thing. Like, the PC client is amazing.
You know how much of a burden, like, I pull out my phone. I have like an iPhone 13. Whatever. It does the job. Like, it's nothing special. I pull that thing out and then I'm like, this feels like unusable. Like, I mean, this is just for collecting energy and making sure like I'm spending energy. Like, I really want to play the game with this little thing.
It's a whole different game. It really, really is. And, I actually sent to Meathead when I got the PC. I was like, you stupid piece of shit. I bought this $1,800 PC with corporate money, not with mine or anyone's money, literally just to play this stupid game. Like, I don't have time to play AAA games. I don't have time to sit down at my PC at any other time than to play this stupid game. I hate you. And he thought it was funny. He's like, it's beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. So while we're talking about Meathead, he is another reason that is good about this game.
Yeah.
So, I'm a former game changer. I was in the game changer program with all those guys. And the CG that I worked with was not good. They were very toxic. They did not really respect content creators. They didn't like content creators. They felt that, I think I don't know how, I don't have any proof of this. I just anecdotal evidence, but I think they were threatened by Arnold's like position in the game, mobile gamers' position in the game, with the amount of people they had under their influence. So there was a lot of hostility between CG and the game changers at the time. They would pit us against each other. They would promise us in-game ads. That was the big motivator back then. In-game ads. And I remember being promised an in-game ad, thinking I was going to get it. And then lo and behold, Skeltrix got it for reasons that I couldn't explain. So the CG that I used to work with when I was a game changer was not good.
Yeah.
The CG I work with right now, and I think it's Meathead in particular, the CG I work with now is great. Like, I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, I'm coming back to the game. Like, I've realized in my time away, this game is actually pretty good, and I really want to come back. And he was just so graceful and just so willing to have the conversation. And he is, the fact that he just lets anybody else message him, that's like the stark difference, right? Like, Meathead is such an upgrade from what they previously had running community, that it's just crazy to me how good he is.
Yeah, I when he first came to the game, I was not a big fan. I personally thought that he was sarcastic in a way that didn't feel earned yet. He has grown on me a lot. I don't have daily conversations with him or anything, but like I talk to him every once in a while. He has helped me out in a few different things. I've popped in on his streams, and I don't really watch things. But just to like chat and hang out, and he's a great guy. He's definitely grown on me in the last, year and a half to 2 years. I've definitely seen a huge difference. And when I go on Reddit and I see all the negativity on the game, I'll say to people like, yeah, I have critiques. I have things that I wish were better. I do wish CG would respect my time a little bit more, but the game is in a much better place than it used to be. And I'm very positive on the game, whereas 2-3 years ago I was very negative, and I was only playing because, well, it's something that I do every day, and I don't give up on things, and I don't want to quit.
Yeah, those are legitimate reasons, by the way. Like, don't ever feel like just because you've been doing something doesn't mean like that's legit, man. I think I'm thankful for this game because it kept a lot of people that were in my community. It gave them one common interest while I was off in Variety Land for 3 or 4 years. It gave them one common language to talk about, and I'm thankful for that. So yeah, like people playing every day. That's pretty awesome. You know, another thing that I'll say about like why the game is better now. Just like look at things like we talked about the PC client getting like a bonus pack on the PC client. That's all feel good stuff. Bonus calendars in the PC, the web store and the PC client. Like that's all feel good stuff. Like that stuff just didn't exist when I played. Like it felt like every opportunity for them to just, you know, F you, they would.
Yes. And now, even on top, like, there are, again, like, I have a lot of people in my community who have just started in the last 2 years, and they don't understand that there was a time before bonus shards. There was a time before the web store. There was a time before rerunning marquees, before double shards, before any type of quality control. It was just like, before the new marquee system. Even it was, hey, $330, that's the only way you're getting this marquee, or go fuck yourself. Now it's not chump change to get a marquee first day, but it's reasonable for someone who maybe even just wants to save their GAC income, you know, to be able to say, this is my favorite character, I want to put something towards him.
Yeah, and that's like the big thing. Like, so there's like guys in my community that are still free to play with this game years later. They just prioritize their GAC. They prioritize ship arena, fleet arena, and then they're, you know, I got a guy like my main mod free. He's gonna get Balin day one. I mean, just from saving his resources. So and that's exciting stuff.
That's what we did with Jar Jar. You know, I am a spender to some extent. I spend very, very, very infrequently. But the minute I found out that he was coming to the game, it was, all right, guys, we're doing this free to play. We're getting all of them R9 day one. And when I say free to play, I don't mean like, I understand that I have advantages as someone who's spent on the past, but we're going to just save our crystal income every day. We're going to do this, and we're going to hoard crystals, and we're going to get this day one, and we're going to compete with Arnold on streams. And if you go watch his stream and you go watch my Jar Jar stream, my mask was better personally, but that's neither here nor there. It's my thing.
Always
so
compete with Arnold. Everybody is same old story.
You know what? I don't. My outlook as a content creator is very different. I think I don't want to say than yours. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but definitely different than Arnold's. I stream once a week. I stream Sunday mornings. I call it Brunch with Egnards. We just hang out, and I drink and hang out with people, and I do roster reviews and try to help people in the lower end of the game, you know, without having to spend all of their money. For me, it's more therapy than about building some huge thing or making it. I don't need to make it. I don't care to make it. It doesn't matter. I enjoy my community. I enjoy the people that I hang out with. And as long as I'm helpful and making the SWGOH community better, I'm happy. So that's the only thing that I competed with Arnold on, was I'm the Jar Jar guy. Lay off my fucking territory.
Well, I'm the Major Tom guy, so lay off my fucking territory. No, I mean, I love that. I love that. It just, I think I just really believe in my heart the game's in a better place. There was another example it just lost me, but I'll remember it here in just a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, and feel free to interject. You know, there are a lot of things with the game that are definitely better. I think Rise of the Empire is better than than LSGO. You know, like if you look at LSGO, and people don't understand this, Rise of the Empire is a time sink. But LSGO, with its 36-hour phases and the way that Operation Platoons at the time and battles were, it was basically, okay, the first 12 hours you're doing platoons, the next 12 hours you're doing battles, and then the last 12 hours you're begging people to deploy. Rise of the Empire, a lot of the time, I run 110 waves on auto per TB, just without operations. You know, you don't need to wait anymore. You can do things on your own time. It's not reliant on that one person to finish every battle. It's so much more relaxed than it was back in those days, and those battles fucking sucked.
Yeah, I do remember Lightside Geo and Rise of the Empire. Coming back to the games, I would say that the three game modes, Conquest, Rise, Naboo Raid, Rise of the Empire, like I don't know. All those sort of feel the same to me. I don't really have a favorite of those. Rise of the Empire, I feel like for a mid-range account or for a lower account, I mean, we have guys in our guild that are like 12 million, in my community, like they're big accounts. I feel like they do a lot of work and they do like a lot of the positions. Like, there's only so much you can do with Rise of the Empire when you have a mid-range account that you have, maybe one or two teams that are full on like 5, 6, 7 relics. So my time in Rise of the Empire is limited. I mean, I run maybe like 1 or 2 combat missions a day. I'd run like the Lord Vader one. I ran like another one, and then I scrapped out on another one, and then I just deploy. So my time with Rise of the Empire, it's fine. It's just, I don't know if I'm really getting anything out of it. Like I'm getting.
You're not hurting your guild that much by being in that position though. Whereas as a guild recruiter, if during LSGO, I used to have to ask people, how many waves do you get? That's important. Like, it's very important to me that you do 60 plus waves every fucking time or you're going to screw us. Rise of the Empire, I don't even ask people. It doesn't, like, I want you to do your battles, but I don't really care that much because the battles have a secondary importance to the operations and to the deploys. And it has made it a huge quality of life difference where regular players might not realize that, but if you're like a TB officer, it changes the game. Like, my hair used to be gray, and now it's like, wait a second, we'll bring color back. This is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So like all the game modes. I mean, Grand Arena is my favorite, but I don't feel like. I think Conquest can feel a little grindy when you're chasing those final feats. It was fine when I first came back, but now that I'm like 5 or 6, 7, this is probably my 7th Conquest back. I do feel a little bit of the grind there. What's your take on that?
So when it comes to Conquest, I mean, I've been doing them since the very beginning. I have red crated every single one of them except for one Dad Bod Bobo one, the first one. I am big on my efficiency. Every time that Conquest comes around, I would make a Reddit post about being efficient. I do a Conquest guide every single time. I hate Conquest. I hate Conquest.
Well, I mean, is it just because it's just rinse and repeat the same thing? It's like
you know what it is?
Agony and.
So you weren't around in the very beginning of Conquest, but when it first started with like Razor Crest, I don't remember the timeline. Maybe you were.
I was there for deployable cooling systems.
Okay, so like right in the beginning with the JMK Cat, like Razor Crest. Yeah. You could do Conquest in about 90 to 100 battles. And every 3 Conquests, they'd like kind of pull the rug out a little bit. And it would go from 100 to 130 to 150 to 180. And I was tracking this every single Conquest. And I do consider myself to be a pretty efficient person. And I was getting up to the point where it was taking me 250 plus battles to get that red crate. Now, these last couple have been not as bad. They've kind of started to dwindle that back a little bit. The Queen Amidala one, by the last time, it took me 137 battles. Bane, I think, was around 150. This current one, it uses like the same 3 teams, but I'm still able to do it pretty quickly. It just becomes like, all right, I've done this battle already. I get it. Like, I've proven to you I can do it. Do I really have to do it 30 more times?
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah, that would be frustrating. I'm not quite there. I mean, I'm like not getting red crates. I'm getting probably like 2 below the red right now. So I think that's what it like. Gold? Is that gold?
The gold is the one right before red crate. And I know a lot of people that get gold and spend just because of, they're like, you know what, I have the income. And I don't want to spend the time. Fair.
Like get the Conquest Plus Pass.
They get the Conquest Plus Pass, and they get their gold crate, and they buy the shards, and they get it in 3 or 4 months or whatever it is, and they're like, it's worth it for me to do it that way, so that I only have to get 1 red crate instead of 3 red crates.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, Egnards, what's tempting me to buy the Conquest as a returning player, Conquest Plus, is the Proving Grounds.
Yes.
Because all that stuff in Proving Grounds is new to me. So that's like a huge thing for a returning player. And I'm able to, I have to manual a couple of those fights, but getting like the 20 shards once a month and that's like what 1.5 years to get a full
get
character.
That character.
Yeah, and then if you do the conquest pass, you get the double. I was like, what? Are you serious, guys? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, so that's motivating me to spend because 6 months or 9 months or whatever we're talking about, so much faster.
And almost all of those characters are game-changing characters. There's a few that even I don't have, like Trench I never bothered with. Dad Bod Boba I never bothered with. People love Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. I never bothered with him. But for the most part, they're all characters that you want in your roster. And being able to double that up makes things so much nicer.
And I gotta tell you, like, whoever designed Proving Grounds, like, it is legit some of the most fun content. I enjoy Conquest, or not Conquest, Galactic Challenges.
Yeah.
It's sort of in the vein of Galactic Challenges where you're just like, there's a methodology, and a lot of people have the same limitations in their roster. Oh, you need SOKR for that one. It's like, I don't have that, but you could do it with like JKL lead and like throwing some random stuff together, and you can scrape through with 1 star this time. Like, I love Proving Grounds. I think it's just great.
I've never, unfortunately, I've never had to play Proving Grounds. You can't play it if you have the character max. You don't get a chance or a choice. There is a Trello board that the community came up with that kind of has all of that stuff on there. I think a lot of people are very negative on Proving Grounds just because they look at it and they go, wait, you said it's Relic 5, why can't my random-ass team beat it? And they don't understand, like, it's a puzzle. You're supposed to beat the puzzle and figure out the puzzle.
And that's when the game is at its best for me. Like, Grand Arena is the best. Just to be very clear, I'm a Grand Arena guy. That's how I got, big on Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, or not big, but recognized from playing Grand Arena. But when I'm just like doing solo play, like Galactic Challenges and doing Proving Grounds, it's like the puzzle, right? And you just got to try and make it work with your roster. And then, like, I have one of them where I just put like 50 attempts, 60, 90 attempts into it, and I finally got it with RNG. And that's when the game is just humming for me, is when that sort of stuff clicks. Yeah.
See, what's funny is I'm the complete opposite. It's not that I don't like GAC. I grew up in the MMO era, and I played a lot of MMOs. I played Star Wars Galaxies, World of Warcraft.
Good. Okay. I got to stop you because Star Wars Galaxies is...
I'll talk all fucking day about Star Wars Galaxies.
It's fucking goated, man. The economy in Star Wars Galaxy was unmatched. Pre-combat upgrade, that game, legitimately the best game ever made.
So this is where I told you that we can just like tangent off and I don't give a shit. I'll talk about Star Wars Galaxies for the next 45 minutes. I don't care.
It was so good before the pre-combat upgrade. So good.
I try to explain to people crafting in that game, and I just can't. Like, I'm like, there's nothing that compares to how crafting and materials were in that game.
The economy is unmatched. Crazy. It's like, okay, I always like tell people on stream, I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, doctors were the best class in that game, and like it was such a community built, and dancers, and like it was such a community building experience because you'd see these guys, they're like bounty hunters, and they go out and venturing, and their stats erode over time, and they have to go into a cantina to like get their stamina healed. They got to go into a doctor to get their like mind and body healed, and and then like the doctors like have regulars, and like they tip each other, and like it was just crazy how awesome it was.
Especially those like the early. I don't know what server you played on. I played on Turkinus.
I played on Bria.
Okay, so we were very well known because the way that resources were, they were random, and my server did not get the specific metal you needed for T21 rifles for like a year and a half. So while all of you guys were running around with like the best like rifle in the game, we literally could not make them. So we had to do all of this shit without those rifles.
That's funny, dude.
But I remember like my first character was a swordsman ranger, and it was just so fucking cool to be out on like a crate dragon raid and pop out like that giant like ranger tent and be like, yeah, guys, chill out.
Yes,
relax.
And then like. Everybody's like, the camp, you break camp, and like Everybody get out their astromechs, start crafting little stims. Like everybody's like
You
working
had to
on
get
something.
ready with your
Yeah,
squad leaders and
yeah, and then we're just sitting by the campfire, and everybody's just sort of just talking and bonding. The design of that game, it will never be matched. It was just you had to have been there. I can't explain it.
it is. You can. I've tried to explain to people. I do think it did have its fallacies, and I think the reason that the game failed was that they basically said, hey guys, this is Star Wars, make your own story. But they didn't always give us the tools to make our own story, right? Like you had to if you wanted to do certain things, you had to reach out to developers and hope that they reached back out, and then maybe they'd spawn some ATSTs or something. But you eventually just got bored because it was like, all right, there's nothing on Tatooine.
I think what they did, there was a lot of open space on Tatooine. They had Jabba's palace, and then when it launched, it wasn't even.
Those they call them theme parks or something, right?
Yeah.
That's your quest lines.
Yeah.
I don't know when you quit the game. I got my Jedi slot. I remembered waking up at 3 a.m. some mornings. Me and my buddy, we would find our doctor friend. We would buff up. We would go on Dathomir at 3 a.m. so that bounty hunters wouldn't find us. But sometimes it'd be 5 o'clock in the morning and someone would actually come after you and be like, oh fuck, I'm on a 2-hour chase because I can't die.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I never got Jedi. When I was doing it, it was you had to level up each class, and then you would get clues on location.
The holocrons and shit.
Holocrons, yep.
And then
you had to max
everything.
out skills. Yeah, I was going to college at the time, and I just didn't have time for it. And I had a friend that put hundreds of more hours into the game than me, and he never even got it. So the fact that you did it, that's crazy, man.
Well, I'm slightly younger. I was in high school, so I was I don't have fuck all to do.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was every day, and I think it was. So you had to get 5 professions, but they were random.
Yep.
And I think it was my second to last profession. It was architect. It was I had nothing left to do, and I was oh, by the way, now you've gotten it.
That's crazy, dude. And for you guys that don't know how much of a grind this was, there was 25 to 30 professions in the game.
And some of them were easy. Image designer you could do in 2 hours, but then some of them were so fucking long to do.
Yeah. I just remember, and this is before the times of this is how good the crafting was in this game. It was before the times of modern internet where you would just go to a website and you would just go get all the you go to the wiki and get all the information, right? Nowadays. Now it was a guy posting on the forums about avian meat quality locations and the spawn, and people sharing information about, oh well, I was in just south of Bestine in this area right here on the map, and the avian meat spawns here were top tier, or the wind farming here was and then the quality of those materials would go into making a better product overall. It was so cool.
This is why I have trouble explaining it to people, because it was basically there'd be, if you were to take metal, there'd be 10 different metals.
Yep.
And every week, different metals would spawn, but each metal would have 15 stats. And those stats went from 1 to 1,000. So even after I semi-retired from my Jedi, I retired as a weaponsmith, and I had houses full of resources. And you would post on the forums and be like, hey, do you remember that Bespian steel that spawned 7 months ago? I have 300,000 of it. I will make
that shit would be priceless. It would be the most.
Yes.
It was.
People don't understand.
You don't understand it. That sort of stuff. And then you would go months without avian meat being as good as the avian meat that spawned 3 months ago, and that shit would be at a premium. It would be the best stuff you could get. It was just so cool.
And there was people that had warehouses and warehouses of it. But the cool part of the game, and you kind of said this before, was if you didn't want to go out and fight shit, you could just be a cantina dancer. You could just be a surveyor. You could just be a weaponsmith, and you could find shit to do every day.
Yeah. The medics just chilling in the medical bays with lines of people looking to get healed, looking to get
just
stabbed.
just hanging
just
out.
chatting. It was just so well designed. Like whoever was the architect of that game, oh my god, dude, you're like you're goated, man. There's no one gonna make a game like that ever again.
No,
And then World of Warcraft came around and ruined it because they
it
wanted to
is.
make
And
it.
then that's when
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called like Trials of Obi-Wan or whatever. And,
Yeah.
and Star Wars Galaxy said, you know what, let's try to be WoW. And it didn't work. But
Yeah.
to kind of
Yeah.
go ahead, finish up.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then we got SWGOH, which was basically WoW.
Which I did.
No
I played SWTOR 2 at the beginning. I was a huge MMO person through high school, through college, through my early 20s. And this kind of going back to PvP, I always loved PvP. I always loved being on PvP servers. When I played SWTOR, actually, I had a guild. We were called Sexy Pillow Fights. And it wasn't a serious guild. We did pantsless PvP nights every Tuesday. And you drink and we'd get on like TeamSpeak and we would
As
just
one
like,
does.
yeah, and you would have fun. I loved that shit. In Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, I just feel like for me, I'm like every GAC defense is the same. Every single GAC, I face the same shit. I use the same counters. I almost find it's more rote than rote is. So
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that with an account like yours. I can absolutely see that. So here's where I'll say it's a little bit different for me is I lack the knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm clearly like I go entertainment. I lean into entertainment. That's like my style. I lean into like production value and entertainment. So I lack the game knowledge right now. There's just no way I'm ever going to be like a top tier player in this game ever again. Like I was there up until like Jedi Knight Revan, and then just like I just was totally disenchanted by like a lot of stuff after that. But like my game knowledge is never going to be what Xerath's is or Arnold's is or UrzZz is, right? Like I'm never going to be that. But I just lean into my community to help me. And so what we do on my stream is like we sort of do community GAC where it's just like, okay, this is what the roster looks like. Like last Friday, we were going up against 4 GLs. I have 2. And we almost cleared all the GLs. It was just great. It was good community building stuff. Calvin Awesome came on, did some great coaching. And, I'm learning in that process as well. And I think a lot of people with mid-range accounts see that and they're like, okay, there's still some fun to be had here.
I think if I had an account like that, it would be different. And thinking about like early GAC with like 3v3, right? When that first came out, everyone hated it. I loved it. I loved it because nobody knew what they were doing. You just saw weird shit. And I enjoyed that weird shit. Like that was so much fun to me.
Yeah. I think this goes back to just like they took away the authenticity in some of these just like weird things. And they streamlined it all. And I think that's sort of the thing that I think has hurt the game the most. Like, homogenizing these matchups and just, everything gets standardized.
That's where I have trouble with GAC, and I was actually watching one of your more recent matches just before we got on, where you were saying, oh, this guy's probably like a turtle and he's got all of his GLs, he probably won't attack. That's me. I put every one of my GLs on defense. I do attack, but it's a challenge of let's see what I can take on without any of my GLs. And
that's cool, man. You're playing the game your own way. I mean,
I try to do what I can. I don't stream GAC often because I just don't have the time. And I'm sure you're the same way. My family comes first, so when I get home from work, I'm like, all right, I don't want to play the game. But when I do, when my wife goes, hey, I'm going to sleep early tonight, I call it choose your own GAC, and people come on and I go, I don't care. Tell me what to use and we're going to win or we're going to lose. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, let's get drunk and have some fun and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I've always approached GAC pretty much. And I think the one time, so I quit the game once and then I came back and I actually was like in try-hard mode and I was fucking miserable. I just didn't like how the game operated. I didn't like being forced to get GLs. I didn't like that. And I just, I was miserable. And I think when you're just doing what you said, playing, drinking, having fun, involving the community. That's wins all around. And that's like, the core tenets of what I do. I mean, 100% agree with you, man.
Yeah, I mean, my mantra with people, and people message me on Discord all the time. They're like, oh, have you tracked this? Have you tracked that? Do you know the quickest way to get this or that? Because that's the reputation that I have, and I kind of laugh at people and say, if you saw how I actually play the game, it's nowhere near what you guys think I play. Like, I don't use spreadsheets. I don't use this. I don't use that. I don't track anything. My whole mantra is play the game at 70%, right? Because at 70%, I get 95% of the rewards.
Right.
And I'm not going to play an extra 30% to get 5% more. It's not worth it to me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because what was the Galactic Challenge just like a day ago? It was like...
the Night Sisters one?
Yeah, and I'm like struggling to get red crate. And I'm just like struggling. And then my friend's like, my officer in my guild's like, why aren't you worrying about it? You got the 2 Amis. Like, you're going to spend another like 4 hours like trying to get the red crate. And then it's like, okay, yeah, I think I put enough time in to just accept, the 2 Amis and be good.
I don't spend more than 10 minutes on any GC. And I know, like, it's kind of like 12 million GP privilege, right? To be like, oh, I don't need the Karatech or whatever. But even before that, because I played the game very casually for about 2.5 years. So I had to play catch-up for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
For me, it's, oh, hey, 2 Omicrons, I'm done. I don't care. Those extra 5 Karatech, like... I don't know, I'll make it up somewhere else. Like, I'm not spending an hour doing this. It's not worth my time.
Yeah, I felt a little bit of that. I was chasing, like, the stun feat, 30 stuns. And I'm, like, all I have is for a GL is a JML. And it's just, like, getting my Gear 7 Ayla in there.
And just hoping for the best. No, but that's the
like,
Omicrons are the important part.
Yeah, I'm, like, counting stuns. I'm like, oh, gosh. Why is there no stun counter? That should have been in the game a long time ago.
That's one of those quality of life things that we really do need is those GCs to have something. Because sometimes I will do one and I'll be like, all right, I definitely got it. And of course you don't. You're fuck.
And then you're just staring at yourself while the screen goes black and you're like, well, I just wasted a part of my life.
That was a waste of my 10 fucking minutes. Like, come on. Like, what is this shit?
I love it.
That is
one of your life is the thing. Does it come up?
Yeah. So, man, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but before I hit the record button, you had alluded to this, and I have to bring it up before we finish up. You and your wife watched 90 Day Fiancé. I'm a big fan of 90 Day Fiancé. I did not say this when I was talking to Celiac Sarah because it didn't happen yet, but my wife and I, our love language is sending cameos to each other of 90 Day Fiancé stars, right? So, like, every anniversary, birthday, just for fun, we pop on Cameo. We get, like, a $20 one and send them to each other.
All those guys are on Cameo?
Almost all of them are. And some of them are cheap.
Oh, my God.
So think about it. It makes a great gift.
Okay. My wife would love that, actually.
Oh, my God. We've gotten Big Ed, like, 4 times.
Yeah, see, Big Ed, he's a legend, man.
It's like $50, but you know what? The smile is worth it when she like opens it up and like, what the fuck is this? Big fans.
Yeah, Cameo's awesome. We did Baldur's Gate 3 on stream, and we betted Lae'zel, who is this Githyanki honey, green honey, and they got me a cameo of her talking to the hall. It was my community. It was great. It was so good. Cameo's cool.
Cameo's just one of those silly things that I was not down for at first. I was like, this is stupid. Who would pay for this shit? But you know, like it's like fun to get one and just be like, this is dumb, ridiculous. But I enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's so cool. Yeah, no, me and my wife, that's like my guilty pleasure. I got to be careful who I tell this to because like, I obviously tell my people on stream in my community. My wife, like, I'm a big pro wrestling guy. I watch a lot of like AEW and WWE. I'm a big pro wrestling guy. That's my guilty pleasure. But my wife watches 90 Day Fiancé, and that's hers. And my boss, I got a new boss at my real job, and he came in, and he's like an Indian guy, and he's like, okay, I need everybody to talk about their guilty pleasure. This is the icebreaker. And I go, yeah, me and my wife enjoy 90 Day Fiancé. And he goes, oh. And he goes, next. I'm like, well, you asked. What the hell, man? And then I just felt like I was just at a first time meeting my new boss, and then he gave me that. I'm like, great.
I have no problem at work. Like I work in a school, and we just got a new principal this year, and I kind of trained my old principal to work, not for me, but like around my personality.
Yeah.
I don't care. I had said to my principal maybe a week ago in the office in front of the guidance counselor, I was like, oh, I don't give a shit. I do what I want. And the guidance counselor looked at me. She's like, did you just say that in front of him? Yeah, like he needs to know, right? Like he needs to know that like this is my personality, and like I don't care what I say. I don't care what people know about me. I don't care that like that everybody in the school knows that I watch 90 Day Fiancé and Love Is Blind. Like it does not matter.
Oh man, yeah, it's just funny how just like people, it's sort of similar at my job. I've been at my job for 20 years. It's just like, all right, you can say whatever you need to say. I've been here for 20 years. I know everything. I know where all the bodies are buried. Like, fuck yourself.
You also get to the
That's how I am.
You get to the point, and I've said this to a lot of my younger coworkers, because in teaching, you see like the people retire, right? And then these 22-year-olds come in who are like young and spry and happy, and I'll say to them like, just wait till you are 15 years older and you're gonna stop giving a shit about like everything,
right?
Like your whole mindset on life changes.
Yeah.
When you hit like your
go ahead.
Oh, like when you hit like your early to mid 30s and like kind of go beyond that, you're like something clicks, and you're like, I don't care.
I tell my wife, this is like what I tell my wife, because my wife, she worked for small businesses for the last, like, I don't know, like 15 years. And I've been in corporate for 20 years now. And I'm like, sweetie, you just got to stop caring. Like, you care too much. Like, why do you care what these people think? Like, these people would throw, like, if you died tomorrow, that would be an inconvenience. They wouldn't care. Like, you just got to stop caring about like what these people think. She's just like, I'm not built like that. And now after 5 years of her being in corporate, she's finally getting it. It's just like,
it makes sense.
Like, yeah. And I'm always like, you need to take back whenever you can take back. Because if you don't, no one's going to care.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I like when it comes to school. Like I work in education because I like working with kids. I like helping kids. I like doing that. But when I have coworkers who stay till like 6 p.m., I'm like, stop. You need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You're taking away from your own life, and it's that 70% for 95% principle, the same thing, right? Like you're doing all this extra work, but to teach the same lesson you would have taught if you stayed till 3:30, and you're not making enough money to do, like you're not being supported by your community enough. It's not worth it. Like, relax.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. So I was young and naive for 7 years. I used to have to work every quarter end and every like year end. So like I never got, for 7 years, didn't get in like New Year's, didn't get anything like that. And it's just like, do you think at 95, 97% of the time, nothing was happening?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, well, we have to have someone there just in case. And it's just like, okay. It's like, do you think anyone today remembers that? No, I remember it though, because I lost out on 7 New Year's parties.
Yeah, and that's fun. Like that's life. Like, I don't know your outlook on life, but mine is your goal in life, your purpose in life is to enjoy life, right? So like when you miss out on things like that, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. I just, and then I'm like telling my wife, I'm like I will always take back because of shit like that. Like if I got nothing going on a Friday, my day ends at 11 o'clock. I'm done, man.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, don't ask me to do anything.
No, I've had bosses before where there was a school that I used to work with, and I remembered like my contracted hours were 8:10 to 3:05, right? And my actual work that I needed to do ended at 2:50. My kids were gone, and I would leave. I would come into work at 7:20, right? So almost an hour before work started. And I'd help people out with stuff, and I'd get stuff done. And I'd leave at 2:50 because my kids are gone and I don't have shit to do. Until I got ratted out by someone else, and it was like, oh, listen, your contracted hours, they're this, and that. And it became, all right, that's fine. Like, I will come in at 8:10 now. I'm not doing that extra whatever that I used to do, and I will leave exactly at 3:05 or 3:10 or whatever it is, and I will get the exact contracted hours. Because you don't look at me like I'm a human. You look at me like I'm just like this workforce that needs to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny you say that because I had a boss, and this is a story I always tell everybody that changed my outlook forever. I had a boss who her philosophy was, if I'm in the office, you're in the office. And this is like in 2009, 10. This is like when work from home was like just starting to get its grounds. Yeah, it was just starting, and her philosophy was, if I'm in the office, you're in the office. We live in Colorado. You've been to Colorado. You know what it's all about. We got mountains, we got snow, and it's just basically, it turns into Hoth for like 4 months. Okay, so we had just gotten a fresh snowstorm. My boss lives, mind you, my boss lives 3 minutes from the office. I live 30 minutes from the office in a suburb south of Denver, and my boss's philosophy was, if I'm in the office, you're in the office. Well, we just got an ice storm the night of. I wake up in the morning, I go out on my driveway, and I'm in my dress shoes, and I'm ready to go into work, and I step onto my driveway, and my feet go vertical. Like, I am like upside down, 180 degrees, like, just flip vertical right there. And I come down on my neck and my head, and I'm concussed. And my neighbor who's shoveling comes running over, and he's like, dude, your legs were up in the air, your feet. He's like, are you all right? I'm like thinking to myself, I just took a concussion because my boss's stupid agenda is, if I'm in the office, you're in the office, and we need people in the office. And I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Like, I took a concussion because of some stupid lady. You think she remembers that? You think anybody remembers that? No, I'm the only one that remembers that.
Everybody has to learn, the hard lesson.
Yeah. They don't care.
Everybody. I remember, and I'll make the story quick, but so I work in schools, but I teach martial arts, and I worked for my boss for like 15 years, and I remember during those 15 years he was very skilled, but he wasn't. What it basically became was like the first 10 years of working for him, everybody came to the location for him. It was like, oh, this instructor, like, is he here? Like, I want to go for him. The last 5 years, everybody, even though my name wasn't on the building, everybody came for me. They're like, oh, I heard about him. Like, is he here? Like, I want to learn from him. And, I made him a lot of money. And when he decided to retire, he brought me into the office and he's like, listen, I will sell you this business for like $500,000, which is a joke. Like,
right.
Not even worth a fifth of that.
Right.
And he ended up selling to some other lady who I worked for almost a year, and she fucked me over multiple times. And that was kind of like my awakening point.
Yeah.
Of being like, I need to stop like doing this for other people. And the long story short was, when COVID hit, she screwed over a lot of people. And then I ended up screwing over her and taking all of her clients and starting my own business.
There you go.
Just as an aside. And now I try to like educate people. I'm like, no, don't give more than you're worth, or don't give more to someone else's worth, rather, because you're not going to get it back. Like, they're going to fuck you over.
I feel like I'm talking to my wife, man. This is what I tell her. I'm like, do not, like, you want to be praised at a certain point in your life. When you start making good money and you start making money, people don't care. You're dealing with career managers. No one cares if you do a good job. You think these people haven't seen a good job? Of course, they don't want to look like they're not doing a good job.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. I could go all day
my
about
wife because she's in corporate America, so she.
Yeah.
I hear I come home every night and I'm like, no, just stop. Just stop. Just stop, please.
Well, the so-and-so happened, and then this, I'm like, oh.
She doesn't give a
Yeah, I
shit
work from
about
home
you.
every day.
Find another job.
I don't, yeah, like, I'm like, my wife this morning, should I look for another job? I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, listen,
I don't think you're ever
anybody
gonna be
listening
happy.
right now, I have said the same thing to my wife, like very recently too. Like the best time to look for another job is when you have a job, because you can be so much more demanding and say, you know what, I don't want to take that one because of X, Y, Z, because you have income already. It's the best time to look.
Yeah, I just, she's got to just get over the fact that people don't care. That's my thing with her. People don't care, baby.
We all get there. We all get there on our own time.
Yeah.
With that, man, I don't want to take up much more of your time. I appreciate you. I told you I always do this. I say to people, hey, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then an hour later, and now we're at like an hour and 10, and I could sit here until midnight. I've got a whole bottle of fucking whiskey, but I'm not going to do that to you on a Monday night. I really do appreciate your time. I do recommend anyone from my side of things that is watching this to check out, UrzZz stuff. I looked at it and I've watched some stuff and I don't even watch I cannot watch videos. I get so bored of the most exciting shit. But I sat there watching some of your GAC and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I wish you well and want to leave the last word to you, man.
I just want to say thanks for having me. I'm going to be starting, everybody out in the community. For the longest time, I used to be against doing collabs because of the toxicity that we talked about a little bit earlier, but that's all changed now. And I'm happy to talk with anybody. And I appreciate Egnards for being the first guy to step up to the plate. And thank you so much, my friend. Let's do it again sometime.
All right, man. Peace out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.